putting everything together, I probably did not spend up to 500,000 naira being able to achieve my dream of coming down here for school. My name is Ade Lawrence. I currently work as a financial analyst. I work within corporate finance with a biotech company in California. That's basically what I do. I left Nigeria in the pandemic year, that was 2020. And before leaving Nigeria, I was working in banking. I worked with First Bank of Nigeria for about 3 years. But before then, I'd worked with a gas processing company in Port Harcourt and in Lagos. So, like I said earlier, I left that the COVID year, and then basically why I left Nigeria, I had a very good paying job that had a good career path at the time, but I wasn't getting a lot of challenges that I felt I should be getting. I wasn't. I felt like where I was at the time was not where I should be, and I wanted a new challenge for myself. And then so I decided to leave the country to start a new career. I got an advanced degree in the United States, and then that's how I had to leave my job and then be here in America. I was working in banking, like I mentioned earlier, and then I was able to put funds together by myself, to come here in America. But if I go back and if I start thinking about how much I put into the travel plans and coming to school here, I started off by taking standardized exam like GRE and TOEFL. At the time, maybe that was maybe 50,000 to take those exams at the time. I'm sure it's times 6 now, maybe 300,000 to take those exams, because at the time, GRE, you could take it for about you could write that exam for about dollar rate was like 150-ish at the time. At the time I was taking the exams, and then it was really easy and convenient for me to pay by myself from my pocket. I was earning close to maybe 200,000 naira at the time in Nigeria, working in the bank, and I could afford 45k, 50k, to take those exams. So cost to include cost of applications for some of those schools, you pay $50, $100. Those were not too bad. They were a lot of money, but they were not too bad. Maybe worst case is 30,000 naira at the time, to pay. And I put all those together, and then the cost of flying down to America at the time was not more than I remember the flight tickets vividly. I was able to I paid about maybe 350,000 naira, which I know now goes for maybe 2.5 or 3 million, to fly all the way from Nigeria down here. So that was it was really easy. So I could afford it from my salary at the time, just putting salaries together, because I actually got a funded admission, so I didn't have to pay for tuition. So it was really cheap. I would say thinking about it now, putting everything together, I probably did not spend up to 500,000 naira being able to achieve my dream of coming down here for school. I got a graduate assistantship that covered my tuition, although it was partly funded at the time I first had it from Nigeria. So I didn't have to pay nothing for tuition. My tuition was being covered for. So what they call it here graduate assistantship in America. It's not. It's a very common thing here in America. You could get a form of scholarship, I would say, but you have to work for it in a way. You get to do teaching assistantship position or research assistantship on campus. You're expecting a professor to do research, and then they pay your tuition, and and you get paid for it. And they also, that's what they call graduate assistantship here in America. And then I was able to get that opportunity, and I didn't have to pay for tuition because the university covered my tuition. I just have to do teaching assistantship job on campus, as a service that I rendered for them to get my tuition being covered or being paid for. I don't think it was that difficult, because I was able to afford my first rent coming here in America. In fact, I paid my first rent when I moved here. I paid it back in Nigeria. I worked in the bank, like I mentioned earlier. So I had like a dollar card. I had like a what do you call this card again? I have a dollar card that I could pay. So I paid my first rent even right before I came here in America. So based off my salary, my savings, and everything. So it was really easy. And then the second rent, because rent is the basic thing that's it's where most of the fund goes into, like living here in America. So I was able to get the first rent covered before I moved. And when I came here, the second rent I was already getting paid from the job that I do on campus, and I was able to like cover my rent. So I would say pretty much I came in very, very, very like stable financially to a great extent, and then I didn't have to like struggle too much. I won't say there wasn't a little bit of struggle, a bit of adjustment with the system, trying to understand how much you need to pay into rent, how much you need to save after working on campus. So putting all that together, but it wasn't a lot of struggle. I would say, like, it wasn't anything too crazy or difficult. Yeah, but I was, like I said again, I was pretty much stable coming here from Nigeria, and it wasn't a lot of struggle. I always tell myself that it was one of the big decisions that I made, because if I'd like, I look back and see I still have in terms of some of my colleagues that were on like the same grade in the bank in Nigeria. Some of them, they share with me some of their struggles back home in Nigeria, the pressure on the job, and even though some of them have grown where they are, some of them have left the bank for other banks or other opportunities, and I still say that they still have some form of struggle. So I said this was one of the decisions that I made, one of the best decisions that I made, coming out here. Yeah, absolutely. I have no regret about my decision, and I'm so excited that I made that move. I could have stayed back and be like, I have a good paying job, and I don't need to worry about having a different career or a change of career or whatever. But I think it was a very great decision that I made, and I have zero regrets about my decision. I've actually moved around a lot within the last 4 years in the United States. When I first moved in here, I came into Texas, and then I went to school in Louisiana, and then I went to school in Florida. So I finally got a job in California, and then I moved there for my job, and I've been there since August of this year. So I would say when I had a little bit of a rough time in America was when I was because I had 2 degrees within the last 4 years before I started my job. So I had a master's degree in engineering at the University of Louisiana, and then I went to University of Florida, and then I got my MBA. So when that transition in was a little bit rough for me, because I came in with a GA, graduate assistantship, so my tuition was being covered. But when I went to Florida, I actually had 100% scholarship. So like I said earlier, the GA is quite different from the scholarship. The GA is graduate assistantship. So I had a scholarship in Florida, and that covers my tuition 100%. But I didn't have any means to cover my living expense. I had to work on campus again, and Florida was way more expensive, and I had to pay some fees out of pocket, maybe like insurance fee, and that was a little bit of a struggle for me, because but the good part of that, I was already here in America, so I already knew my way around, and then but that transition was really a struggle. I had to work extra to be able to pay for the cost of living in Florida, even though my tuition was being taken care of. Going to school, the program was very rigorous. So going to school and having to work a little bit more just to cover my rent and living expense, because Florida was, like I said earlier, was a little more expensive. And then, so that was a little bit of struggle. Then I also had a couple of friends kind of helped me every year and there, but I made it through. I scaled through the period, but other than that, that was the toughest time I think I had. The transitioning was a little bit of a tough time here. Other than that, it's not been too bad. I've helped quite a lot of people, because I feel like I went to a little little bit of a rough path in Nigeria. I didn't have a lot of information. Most of the things I had was I had to go out there to get information about my travel plan. Like I started making plans maybe almost 4 years before I eventually traveled. And those 4 years were a lot of learning process for me. So I had gathered a lot of experience, for those 4 years. Even though I was like working, I got a lot of experience within those 4 years period. And so I told myself that if I had a lot of information way earlier in the game, I probably would have made that decision of coming here way earlier than I did. So I tend to want to guide people, have the same passion and dream. I tend to want to, support them in a way that I can by providing the information, by guiding them so that they don't spend a lot of time wasting time and not being able to achieve, their set goal within a short time. So yeah, that's something that I said is really dear to me. I always want to help people have, similar passion and dream. That's something I always do, and then I'll continue to do. Yeah, absolutely. On the long term, I see myself coming back to Nigeria. I see myself coming back to Nigeria, even though at the time I left, I didn't want to. I had a lot of disappointment even in Nigeria, but though, irrespective of that, I do want to, come back at some point to Nigeria. I'm not going to live here in America for the rest of my life. I'm still going to be back home sometime, maybe for retirement or whatever. But definitely, I see myself moving back to Nigeria many years from now. But there's no plan right now for that, because I'm just getting to establish myself here. So I feel like I need to be well established, be able to make some investments here in America and also in Nigeria. That way when I'm retiring, I can, retire back in Nigeria. But definitely I see myself relocating back, but not in the short term. That's a long-term plan. And then, I don't know, maybe 20 years from now, maybe 30 years from now. But, as time progresses, I would make that decision. But definitely it's on top of my, it is something that is on my mind to relocate back to Nigeria after a long time. It's a good thing to want to have, to want to relocate, but you need to define your purpose. You need to know why you want to relocate, and then you need to be very sure about that. If you're coming here for school, maybe you want to have a change of career, and then you want to experience something different from what you have already experienced in Nigeria. You want to experience a different challenge. That's a good thing. That was like my own cause for wanting to come here. So you need to really define your purpose. And if you define a purpose and let it be a motivation for you to move, you don't just say, oh, you want to travel because everybody is traveling. I don't think that makes sense, even though for some people, but to me, I just don't think that makes sense. You need to have a purpose and define a purpose and be able to push for that purpose, because you can end up here and then just struggling, trying to get yourself on the ground. But if you feel like Nigeria is better off for you, then you should stay back. And then, but if you feel like you cannot afford to live there anymore for now, or you think you want a different challenge for yourself, or the system is not working for you, and that's also absolutely fine. Then, but again, you need to define your purpose, and that will be a motivation to whatever you want you want to achieve. So you should not just say you want to travel because everybody is traveling. Define your purpose, know why you want to travel, and that will motivate you to be able to push through. Because you can end up here and not doing. But there are some people that still do very well in Nigeria. I'm not saying this because I'm here already, and I'm not trying to encourage people. I really encourage people to pursue the dream if you really want to. But again, you need to define your purpose, and that would motivate you to. It should be like a push. If you have a purpose and you are strong about you feel very strongly about the purpose of you wanting to travel, then that would be a great thing to do.